When the meeting tilts, the date stalls, or family drama erupts, do you take calm control or compose elegant excuses after the damage lands? Machiavelli would tell you the world divides into men who shape events and men who are shaped by them. His word for the first kind isn't niceness, it's virtù. Practiced competence, steady courage, and precise timing aimed at results. Not villainy, agency. You read the terrain, move first, absorb pressure, and still hold ethical lines you can defend in daylight and sleep with at night. This manual is modern, blunt, and usable. In 6 parts you'll build competence that wins before you enter the room, courage that steps into heat without breaking your code, timing that catches windows as they open, and ethics that make your power scale instead of rot. Apply it to work, dating, and family, and you'll stop narrating life and start governing it. Ready to trade alibis for outcomes? Then lock your stance and move. Machiavelli's virtù is not a halo, it's a habit. It means you know your craft cold, you act under pressure, and you choose the right moment to strike. You don't outsource outcomes to luck, markets, moods, or other people's approval. You study the board, you move the piece, and you accept the bill. Virtù without villainy means you refuse cowardice and refuse corruption. You win clean, not because you're afraid of heat, but because you want a reputation that compounds and a conscience that sleeps. First command, own the field you play on. In work, that means competence, not performative busyness. Ship, don't posture. Learn the figures, master the tools, rehearse the message until you can deliver it under pressure and scrutiny. In dating, it means presence and standards, steady eyes, clear pacing, firm boundaries. You escalate toward reality, not drama. In family, it means you stop acting like a bystander in your own house. You set routines, you say what won't fly, and you keep your tone when others lose theirs. Second command, separate aim from image. Most men slow down to protect likability. Machiavelli would call that self-sabotage. You aren't here to curate an impression. You're here to secure a result consistent with your code. Decide your non-negotiables in daylight. No lying, no theft, no betrayal of confidences, and then play hard everywhere else. If a move is effective and clean, make it, even if someone will roll their eyes. If it's effective and dirty, reject it, even if it would be easy. Power without standards rots. Standards without power rust. Third command, practice timing. Fortuna, the wildness of events, can be ridden by men who keep their skills sharp and their nerves cooler than the room. Speak early to frame. Wait long enough to gather leverage. Strike the moment the window opens. The lazy blame weather. The prepared carry a jacket and a plan. Finally, accept accountability. Virtù is measured by outcomes plus integrity, not intentions. If you promised and didn't deliver, you missed. If you held the line and took the hit, that's a deposit in the bank of reputation. Keep score honestly. Compete with yesterday's you. And remember, luck favors men who are already moving when the door swings open. Move now, clean, fast, and ready to absorb the cost of being effective without being cruel. Build a simple creed you can recall under heat. Know the work, name the aim, pick the moment, hold the line, own the bill. Repeat it before pitches, before dates, before family talks. The more you drill the creed, the less you'll reach for excuses when pressure rises. That reflex, the refusal to hide behind stories, is the first proof you're operating with virtù, not vibes. Virtù begins with being the most prepared man present. You don't need to be flashy. You need to be undeniable on fundamentals and fluent under pressure. In work, that means owning numbers, narratives, and next steps. You forecast, build contingencies, and write memos that make decisions easier for everyone above and below you. You replace "I think" with "Here's what the data shows, here's the risk, here's the move." You rehearse your talking point standing with a timer until your arguments survive interruptions and cross-examination. Competence in dating is presence plus standards. You plan cleanly, show up on time, and match warmth with steadiness. You ask real questions, listen for pattern, and pace to reality, not to anxiety or fantasy. You state your cadence early, when you text, when you call, when you meet, and you keep it. You don't audition or interrogate. You create a small, ordered experience that lets both of you see the real person fast. That is competence applied to chemistry. Competence in family is logistics and leadership. You choose rhythms that tame drama, shared calendars, Sunday planning, tech curfews, quiet hours. You don't scream, you systemize. You don't martyr, you delegate. When conflict flares, you clarify roles and recommit to the house standard. The goal isn't control, it's climate, predictable, humane, and conducive to growth. Ethical competence is line drawing in advance. We don't falsify, we don't gossip confidences, we don't ambush, we don't promise what we can't deliver. When you're tired, you lean on the line instead of your mood. People will test it. Some will resent it. Most will relax because reliability beats charm over time. Train like a professional. Build a weekly rhythm of study, rehearsal, feedback, and iteration. Read one level deeper than your role demands. Simulate pressure. Pitch to a friend who interrupts. Role-play tough conversations. Dry run the date plan to remove friction. Collect small wins daily. Clear one blocker before noon. Refine one sentence. Ship one unit of work. That snowball makes luck irrelevant because you arrive as the answer, not as a request for patience. Competence compounds into reputation, and reputation bends rooms before you speak. That's not vanity, that's strategy. When people expect precision from you, they yield time and trust. Use it to build, not to preen. Then audit monthly. What skill failed under stress? What system creaked? What sentence muddied the water? Fix it. Tomorrow's pressure will be worse. You'll be ready and still clean. Competence without courage is a library. Courage without competence is a crash. Virtù pairs both. Courage here is not swagger. It's disciplined proximity to risk. You move toward the hard thing at the right moment and accept the consequences without pleading. You speak first to frame a meeting that's turning chaotic. You call the client before rumors metastasize. You end the situationship that feeds your ego but starves your integrity. You say no to the easy money that stains your name, and yes to the quiet, difficult path that compounds over time. In work, courage looks like clear authorship. You attach your name to a plan and a metric. If it fails, you don't scatter blame. You publish the post-mortem and the fix. If someone steals credit, you confront calmly with receipts, emails, drafts, timestamps. You don't rant. You reset the facts in the right forum. Cowards perform outrage in public. Courageous men correct quietly where it counts. In dating, courage is pace and boundary. You don't string someone along to avoid discomfort. You end cleanly. You don't escalate intimacy to secure affection. You let desire meet responsibility. You ask the direct question when ambiguity grows. Are you aligned with exclusivity? If the answer is fog, you step out. Your standard isn't leverage, it's self-respect. In family, courage is sober presence. You visit the conflict no one wants to touch, and you do it without theatrics. You say, "This is the problem. Here's the new rule. Here's how we'll measure it." Then you hold the line while others vent. You don't match volume, you maintain policy. Ethical courage is refusing villainy when the shortcut flashes. Machiavelli is misread as license for cruelty. He's a realist about power. You can be effective without becoming corrupt. Choose tactics that work and age well. Document decisions. Keep confidences. Return favors that were clean. Decline those that were dirty. If you must use pressure, use proportionate pressure. And stop when the lesson lands. Train courage like strength. Progressive overload. Have one uncomfortable conversation each week. Present without slides. Say no to an attractive distraction. Ask for the number. Propose the date. State your pace. Each rep reduces fear's leverage. When heat hits, breathe low, plant your feet, slow your speech by a third, and choose the shortest true sentence. Do that 3 times in one meeting, and watch the room recalibrate around your center. The mark of courage executed, not advertised. Fortuna, the wild flow of events, doesn't owe you symmetry. Some days the river floods, some days it dries. Virtù respects weather by preparing for both and seizing the moment when it appears. Timing is not superstition, it's pattern recognition plus nerve. You read cycles, you stack readiness, and you act before consensus forms, while still honoring the lines you swore to keep. In work, timing means preloading leverage. You build relationships before you need them, draft proposals before slots open, and get your numbers bulletproof before budget season. You float an idea to allies, gather objections early, and enter the official meeting with answers. You speak first when framing helps, last when temperature needs dropping, and not at all when silence lets weak arguments die on their own. You don't fight calendar physics, you exploit it. In dating, timing is pace matched to reality. You escalate to calls, then short meets, before investing weekends. You level set attraction with cadence. Texts you can sustain, plans you can keep. You set exclusivity when behavior proves capacity, not when chemicals scream. You take distance when patterns wobble and return only if repair shows up twice without prompting. Romance isn't a sprint. It's a series of well-timed steps that preserve dignity for both. In family, timing is tone plus tempo. Hard talks happen with rest, privacy, and a clock. You set an agenda, start with facts, and stop before fatigue turns honest feedback into collateral damage. You announce changes with enough lead time that adoption is possible. You don't spring law at midnight and expect gratitude at dawn. Ethically, timing guards your soul. You wait to decide until you've cooled. You refuse signatures under duress. You do not retaliate mid-rage. You make necessary corrections soon and apologies sooner. Quick repair keeps storms from becoming climates. Slow revenge turns you into what you opposed. Train timing with deliberate practice. Journal what windows you missed and why. Ego, fear, fog. Rehearse decision drills. If X happens, I do Y within 24 hours. Watch one domain daily like a trader watches charts. Your team's morale, your pipeline, your partner's stress signals. Intervene early, light, and often. The rule is simple and brutal. Move faster than fear and slower than panic. If you are too early, you educate. If you are too late, you apologize. Aim for the window where resistance is softest and effect is highest, and let results, not nerves, confirm your read. Without villainy isn't softness, it's strategy. Men confuse ethics with handcuffs. Machiavelli treats it as scaffolding, lines that keep your gain standing when weather turns. You don't need to be saintly, you must be consistent. Your code should fit on one line and survive pressure. No lies, no theft, no betrayal of confidences, no exploitation of the weak. Within that frame, get ruthless about discipline, clarity, and follow-through. In work, ethics looks like transparent math and traceable decisions. You put assumptions in writing, circulate drafts, and welcome red team questions before the stakes climb. You protect juniors in public and correct them in private. You give credit by default and claim it precisely when it's yours. You never trade the long arc of reputation for the short spike of a sly win. When politics gets loud, you get even clearer. Meeting notes, crisp asks, receipts. In dating, ethics is consent, candor, and closure. You do not romance people you'd be ashamed to name. You state your pace, your terms, and your exit rules early. You don't breadcrumb to keep options warm. If you're out, you say so. If you want more, you ask without maneuver. When you err, you apologize for the breach and repair with behavior, not paragraphs. Desire stays paired with responsibility. In family, ethics is fairness plus policy. You hold adults to adult standards, contributions, timelines, consequences. You don't outsource hard conversations to the most accommodating person in the house. You set budget rules, tech rules, and conflict rules and apply them across the board, even when it inconveniences you. That equality of burden is what earns compliance. Deterrence can be ethical. You draw boundaries publicly once and enforce them quietly many times. You refuse humiliation and escalation. You prefer exclusion and replacement. If someone violates trust, you reduce their surface area in your life. No monologues, no revenge theater, just smaller access. Guard against moral vanity. Ethics is not a performance for applause. It's a daily refusal to sell your name for convenience. Keep a ledger of hard choices you made cleanly, so when fatigue hits, you remember who you are. Audit quarterly. Where did you blur a line? Where did you duck a truth? Where did you keep a confidence under pressure? Correct immediately. The edge isn't trickery, it's predictability. Allies know you won't cut them. Rivals know you won't break. That clarity frees you to play fast and hard, because everyone knows your rules, and most will move around them. The few who won't are the few you can afford to lose. Virtù means practiced competence, disciplined courage, and precise timing, all aimed at outcomes you're willing to sign. No villainy, no self-absolution. In work, you win by being the adult in the room. Numbers tight, messages crisp, decisions owned. In dating, you lead with presence, pace to reality, pair desire with responsibility, and end clean. In family, you replace drama with rhythm and policy. Calendars, budgets, tech rules, and consequences that apply to everyone, including you. Mechanics that make it real. Daily study and rehearsal to compound competence. Weekly uncomfortable reps to grow courage. Constant window reading to improve timing. Quarterly audits to sharpen ethics. Keep receipts, shipped units, hard conversations held, clean exits executed, repairs completed. Reputation is compound interest. You earn it by showing your math and keeping your word when it costs. Some will call your boundaries arrogance and your clarity control. Don't chase optics. Judge by outcomes and sleep. If you miss, publish the post-mortem and fix. If you're hit for holding the line, take the bruise and keep the standard. Clean losses age well. Dirty wins rot. Command your stance in one breath before high-stakes moments. Know the work. Name the aim. Read the room. Pick the moment. Hold the line. Own the bill. Say it in the elevator, at the curb before the date, outside the door before the talk. Then walk in and be the calmest, clearest man present. If this landed, if it struck a nerve deeper than motivation and closer to your truth, then stay close. Like and drop your thoughts below in the comments. This space is for men reclaiming ground, breath by breath. Share it with a brother whose name deserves a higher price, and subscribe if you're walking this path. Don't forget, Virtù without villainy is not a pose. It's a career, a love life, and a household you can defend in daylight and sleep in at night.